Hi, this is Alon Geva and welcome. I invite you to take a moment and just stop everything you do. And I'm aware that people are very busy these days, running around, their attention is jumping, they believe they have to do many things. Just one moment, take a pause and take the opportunity to shift the attention back to who you truly are. This is where you get charged, get energized, your soul get filled, you feel there is fulfillment, there's meaning. And with that, let's stop for a moment and just don't try anything. Relax and watch. Be alert. Watch what arises within you. You can be aware of the bodily sensation. See if any thought arises. Listen to the silence. Sense the presence, which is yourself, which is thought-free. Who you truly are has not even one single thought. It is the boundless space of awareness. Who you truly are is always being aware. The tendency is being aware of thoughts, feelings, objects, and instead just be aware of the empty space a sense of presence, a field which is aware, and in the field thoughts might appear and disappear. Yet what appears and disappears is seen by your true self. And when nothing appears, you see only yourself. Awareness, aware of itself by itself. And for today, I chose to open a little bit some phrases of Sri Annamalai Swami, and it begins the questioner. But is it enough to be aware of the awareness? Is it enough to be aware of the awareness? The more you fix, or the attention withdraws to yourself, which is awareness, not awareness of a thought, not awareness of the body sensation, just awareness being aware of itself. That's inquiry into the self. This is self-inquiry, which is not mental activity. All that happens, the attention, when it's not directed to thought or object, then it collapses or merges back into yourself, and all there is the sense of boundless space of awareness. And the more awareness recognizes itself as itself, you recognize that you are that awareness. Therefore his question, but is it enough to be aware of the awareness? Yes. And let's see what Annamalai Swami answers. You're repeating the question, so I will repeat the answer. If you remain in the state of consciousness, there will be nothing apart from it. No problems, no misery, no questions. Here he's using the word consciousness as awareness. Yeah? It's synonymous. Same, just a pointer, because awareness has no name. So it can be called by many names, yet it remains nameless and formless. You are invited to recognize this awareness right now. Again, there is a subtle transmission that happens right now if the being within you is tuned. It has a recognition. It's like awareness, recognize awareness in the other, although in the recognition there is no other. Ignorance is ignorance of the self, and to remove it, self-awareness is required. Ignorance is ignorance of the self. So the attention can go to thought, directed to thought, out of habit. This is the addiction, is addicting to thoughts, paying attention to thought after thoughts, the voice in your head, the stories that are going on, the judgments, the preferences, the memories, the comparisons, the ideas, the concepts you have. When it's constantly directed to thoughts, there's an overlooking, ignoring who you truly are. When it is directed outward to the objects of the world, people, situations, circumstances, cars, women, men, seeking, food, when it's all going up, clothes, whatever it is, that when the attention goes out, then it's ignoring the self. Therefore, the whole job for the mind is to return back to who I truly am. It's not that I return to myself. I'm already myself. You already who you are. The mind has to return, to withdraw its attention from the object, from the feelings, from the thoughts, into who you truly are. Now it appears that it's going inwards when in fact there is no inward and outward. These divisions are only in the mind. Yet in the beginning, that's what it appears like. It's like leave the attention going towards objects, leave the attention going towards thoughts, and then allow the attention to collapse into the presence, which is you. Ignorance is ignorance of the self, and to remove it, self-awareness is required. When you come to an awareness of the self, ignorance vanishes. If you don't lose contact with the self, ignorance can never arise. Here he is describing abidance. Abidance is when the interest is taken from thoughts. That means you ignore thoughts when it's possible, and you look beyond the thoughts. You look into the empty space. You constantly seeking the attention at the where there is emptiness, empty of thoughts, because the presence is not empty. The space of awareness is not empty. Yet it is empty of thoughts, ideas, concepts, beliefs, memories. And as your attention is fixed on awareness, you would notice how out of habit the attention suddenly goes to the body because there's a recognition of the body, or suddenly the attention goes to a stream of thoughts that passing through, or the attention goes to a noise outside. And what Annamalai Swami is pointing is if you don't lose contact with the self, ignorance can never arise. That's when apparently you lose contact with the self, when the attention shifts. The more it is brought back to yourself, the more it is withdrawn from objects, feelings, thoughts, and merges, collapses into yourself. This is where you don't lose contact with yourself. Therefore, moment to moment, daily, pay attention where is the attention, and do the best you can to bring the attention back to yourself. Withdraw it into yourself. See if it's possible right now. Allow it to happen. Don't try to make it happen. Means just be the looker, the watcher. Great job. So let's continue. Bhagwan spoke about turning inwards to face the self. That is all that is needed. If we look outwards, we become entangled with objects and we lose awareness of the self shining within us. But when by repeated practice we gain the strength to keep our focus on the self within, we become one with it, and the darkness of self-ignorance vanishes. Let me repeat. Bhagwan spoke about turning inwards to face the self. when the attention goes outward, and that's again in the mind, it's going to the objects of the world. When it is withdrawn into your bodily sensation, which is the first object, it's now withdrawn closer. So being aware of your physical body, or being aware of the energy field in your body, it can be in your palms, it can be in your face, it can be inside your eye, it can just paying attention to the breath. So let's try it. So this satsang is not intellectual. Just be aware of the field, the energy field inside the physical body. Might be tingling, warmth. If that is difficult, notice the belly or chest expands and contracts. Now we draw the attention even more inward and recognize if a thought appears right now. And the one which is aware of everything, thought, sensation, is yourself, is you, the real you. This is when attention is withdrawn to yourself. Now for some of you would be the attention is still attached, stuck, trapped in the thinking process, which is okay. Being aware of that, frees the attention being trapped in the thinking process. Very good. Bhagwan spoke about turning inwards to face the self. That is all that is needed. If we look outwards, we become entangled with objects and we lose awareness of the self shining within us. But when by repeated practice we gain the strength to keep our focus on the self within, we become one with it, and the darkness of self-ignorance vanishes. Here is pointing that again By repeated practice, we gain the strength to keep our focus on the self within. It's the repeated practice is to bring the attention back to yourself. So, who is practicing? It's the mind. Because the mind is made from habits and ideas, habits and memories. The habit is either the attention going outwards to objects, thoughts, or the attention is withdrawn back to yourself. Anytime you can bring the attention back to yourself, you bring the attention back to yourself, you would realize that action can be taken and words can be spoken, and then the attention is actually rooted within your true self. And then what happens, the misidentification is being lost. The misidentification that you are only a body or only an individual, a personhood, actually dissolves, and your true identity remains as your true self, which is ever free, which is boundless, limitless, indescribable, and that's what the mind is looking for. Tayumanuvar, a Tamil saint who Bhagwan often quoted, wrote in one of his poems, "My guru merely told me that I am consciousness." Having heard this, I held on to consciousness when he told me what he told me was just one sentence, but I cannot describe the bliss I attained from holding on to that one simple sentence. Through that one sentence, I attained a peace and happiness that can never be explained in words. Let's open this. My guru merely told me that I am consciousness. Having heard this, I had held onto consciousness. That's already pointing that this being had the recognition of who he truly is. Consciousness is just another word to boundless space of awareness. Holding on to consciousness is not an activity of the mind. It's the attention resting within awareness itself. Being fixed, being fixated, like a magnet, being magnetized by the presence. Having heard this, I held onto consciousness. What he told me was just one sentence, but I cannot describe the bliss I attained from holding onto that one simple sentence. He's pointing on what would happen to you and everyone, or majority. At least that's what I experienced for some time. I don't want to give the length, so you're going to build a new idea about how long it's going to be. There's a fluctuation. The addiction is to go and direct the attention to thoughts. So it's going to thoughts and withdrawing the attention to awareness. So when going to thought, it's better to hold on to one particular thought, and the best thought would be I. And if one cannot hold on to the thought I, holding on to the thought I am. And if one cannot hold only to the thought I am, then holding on to the thought I am pure awareness, I am consciousness, I am boundless space of awareness. So it's more words, it's easier to hold on to. So he's pointing, having heard this, I held on to consciousness. That means no movement. That means no activity of the mind. That means no inner action, no mental action. What he told me was just one sentence, but I cannot describe the bliss I attained from holding on to that one simple sentence. That means when there was no ability for him to hold on or the attention to rest within awareness, the attention was onto one sentence. So the mind became one-pointed. When the mind becomes one-pointed, inquiry into the self, which is not mental, becomes natural, easy, and effortless. And here he's pointing, by concentrating the mind on one sentence, through that one sentence I attained a peace and happiness that can never be explained in words. That means that sentence was the vehicle for the mind to merge into who he truly is, which is pure consciousness, which is yourself. Now, you can understand it in theory, that's all very nice and good. Unless it is truly directly experienced, then people, I hear sometimes, yes, I understand what you say, I experience awareness, yet when I hear with the words and the question they ask, actually it's a mental understanding. It's not a direct experience. Means direct experience, it is so direct that there is no separation. It's awareness, aware of itself by itself. It is a recognition, it is a realization, it is a deep knowing. So I just invite you to be honest enough within yourself. So there is a distinction between true recognition or mental understanding. And only you can know this. Nobody else can know it for yourself. You can only put your attention on one thing at a time. While it is on the mind or the body, it cannot be on the self. Conversely, if you put attention on the self and become absorbed in it, there will be no awareness of mind and body. And just being aware of all the dance and fluctuation that happens, how the attention is absorbed within the self, which is you, and how the attention is actually directed to thoughts and objects. And as it is seen, if you just being aware and look for the empty space, you're actually ignoring the thought and the object, and the attention would absorb within yourself. You can only put your attention on one thing at a time, because the attention is of the mind. So the mind is basically made of thoughts, and there's only one thought at any given moment. Therefore, the attention can only go to either thought or can be directed to the senses. You listen, you see through your eyes, you smell, you taste, you feel a particular bodily sensation of touch. Yet when the attention goes to listening and the mind is not active, the attention is absorbed within the field of awareness, which is you. You can only put your attention on one thing at a time. While it is on the mind or the body, it cannot be on the self. Conversely, if you put attention on the self and become absorbed in it, there will be no awareness of mind and body. You have forcibly to drag your wandering attention back to the self. Each time it shows an interest in going anywhere else. This is where the skill is, the art, the practice comes, is to bring the attention back to yourself. Because the habit is, the attention will be dragged to objects and thoughts. You have forcibly to drag your wandering attention back to the self. Each time it shows an interest in going anywhere else. While the search was on, that which was being thought was, in reality, that through which the seeing was taking place. It is what you're looking for is where you're looking from. It's mistaking that you are looking for yourself, when in fact you are only yourself, and the mind is an appearance within yourself, and the mind is not yourself. Although, because the attention is fixated on the mind, it is appearing to be you. While the search was on, so there was someone searching, that which was being thought, which is you, so the mind is not you, was looking for you, was in reality that through which the seeing was taking place. You are the one who sees it all, and the seeing was taking place, and there was apparently you that was looking for the seeing. Yet you cannot be the one, or you as if it's the mind looking for the seeing. It cannot become the seeing. It merges into the seeing, and you remain the seeing itself. What you're looking for is where you're looking from. The mind cannot look from at itself. The mind is seen from yourself, is being watched from yourself, illuminated by yourself. You were looking for an object that finally turned out to be the subject that was doing the seeing. You were looking for an object. This is what the mind is looking for. It tries to objectify the boundless space of awareness, yet you cannot localize the space. You cannot find the space as an object, you can only find an object in the space, just as an analogy. So the mind cannot find awareness. The mind is absorbed into awareness, and awareness remains with the recognition of itself. Even the sequence, to whom has this thought come, to me, is based on ignorance of truth. Why? Because it is verbalizing a state of ignorance. It is perpetuating an erroneous assumption that there is a person who is having troublesome thoughts. You are the self, not some make-believe person who is having thoughts. Here he is pointing, and that was my confusion for some time as well, is that I thought that inquiry into the self is mental. So it kept still the attention directed towards the thoughts, instead of the attention collapsing into yourself. So he's pointing that to whom has this thought come, to me, is based on ignorance of truth. That means I don't recognize the truth. To whom has this thought come? This thought come to me, yet the me have no thought. That means I am thoughtless, and the thoughts appears within me, which remains thoughtless, and absorbed within me, which remains thoughtless. Not me as a physical form, not me as my belief, me as nameless and formless awareness. Yeah? This is just a play of words, and where it's pointing is the most important. So he says, this type of sequence is based on ignorance of truth. Why? Because it is verbalizing a state of ignorance. And he was pointing and starting that ignorance is ignorance of the self, ignoring the self. And he was pointing that you can only put your attention on one thing at a time. While it is on the mind, it cannot be on the self. So, when you question, and even when an answer arises mentally, the attention goes on the thoughts, and it's not withdrawn to yourself. So that's based on ignorance, because in that moment you ignore the self, because the attention is directed towards the thoughts, towards the question, or towards the answer. You're still listening to the thoughts instead of withdrawing the attention or allowing the attention to collapse into yourself, which is thoughtless. And he continues, it is perpetuating an erroneous assumption that there is a person who is having troublesome thoughts. The reason why the mind is looking for a particular experience is because it is a junkie of experiences. It is addicted to different experiences. So when there's thoughts that troubles you, the truth is a thought never troubles me, who I truly am. Because who I truly am is changeless, is unaffected by any thought or action. Yet then when a thought appears and I'm troublesome by the thought, then suddenly I forgot who I am and I become a person. The personhood plays itself. The habit is playing itself. If that habit can be seen as a habit, and either it is investigated, being questioned, still in the realm of ignorance, and when the mind becomes more subtle, more transparent, awareness shines through, and the attention would be resting, merging into that which is aware, which is yourself. This is just a play of ignorance. Oh, I forgot who I am, and suddenly I'm somebody that is interacting with other people, and I have agenda, and I have preferences, and I have an opinion, and a belief, and this is me. And when that is seen in an instant, you can recognize that this was just a habit playing within yourself. So yourself is not a habit, yourself is not a thought, yourself is not an opinion, yourself is not a name, yourself is not a physical form, yourself is yourself. Yet it cannot be described, yet it can undoubtedly can be known and experienced directly, because it is you. Yet it's not someone or somebody. Someone is a mental concept of me, and somebody is the physical body. Yet, awareness is experienced through the physical body. This is the grace of having a physical form. And he ends, you are the self, not some make-believe person who is having thoughts. So I'd like to end with this chapter, and again, if your attention was going out and going in, and allow the attention without trying anything, just being still, being watchful. Allow the attention to collapse into your true self. Sense the silence within. Great job. The ones who watched it all the way to the end, and it's only an earnest being, a true seeker, that resonates for them to realize who they are, to abide permanently in themselves, would probably get to this point, to the end. And I'll be very happy to get responses from you, because that will give me feedback. What are you interested? That we can go deeper. I can open different subjects. I can open different scriptures, different pointers, so one can really go deeper and establish in who they truly are, that you can truly abide within yourself, and all the false identification can melt away. So I wish all of you great success, and I'm happy that you got all the way to the end, and see you next time. Looking forward for some comments. Thank you very much.